What's going on, guys? We're back with Locker Room Access Podcast. I'm Spencer. Today we're here with T-Dubs and Mark, and we're going to be going through some of the latest in the transfer portal, recruiting, and NIL. So right now we've got Jordan Miner on grounds. He's a big man, 6'8", from Merrimack. What do you know about him, you guys?
Yeah, Mark. Have you heard anything? I've heard Miner is really good, really athletic. Could come in and sort of fill in right now for obviously we have a lot to fill at the moment. But yeah, I've heard him and Jennings. Both are looking to come on and see what their roles are. I'm curious to know how that looks as well. I've heard Jennings is similar to more like another Ryan Dunn type than anything very athletic. We'll see. I think we're upgrading athleticism for sure with the guys we have coming in. Got a couple of comments here. News is Cedric is headed to Duke.
I just got a text or email from man Doug Workman who just sent that email or text me. I'm not sure whatever it was, saying that the latest is that Cedric may be headed to Duke.
Yeah, I've heard that a couple times that they're looking at him. I mean, it kind of makes sense. He's from Raleigh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that makes sense.
I mean, for him, it makes sense. Go home, be close to home, and I don't know how.
Duke.
What's that?
Can he play at Duke? Like the last thing you want to do is go somewhere where they're recruiting 3 or 4 guys at your position.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about that. I mean, talking about him being close to home, and his dream is probably Duke. Dream school. It's kind of like Justin McCoy, right? Like you can't be mad at Justin McCoy. He went home. He didn't play minutes, but he got to be at UNC and be home. And
yeah, although now he's transferring to.
He wouldn't be transferring to Hawaii.
Right, yeah.
From a coach in the Big East text asking me, "What do you think about Justin McCoy?"
Yeah, that now he's going to Hawaii. So,
which you know what, take me with you, Justin.
I know that's not a bad move.
But I think a lot of guys want to transfer to Duke, and the pitch may be good. I don't know what the pitch is. If he can play there, great. But if they've got guys coming back, or if they're recruiting a couple of guys at his position, and I'm not sure what his resume shows and reveals from playing at UVA. It says I'm a Duke kid.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know.
I don't know what his minutes will look like because they generally bring in a bunch of one and dones and have if they're going to bring in a bunch of 5-star guys, it's going to be tough for him to get an easy starting 20, 30 minutes a game. That might be tough.
Every year,
5
guys go there and get 0 minutes. Every year.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of transfers out of Duke.
A kid from Harvard or Columbia or the Ivy League, I can't remember which.
He was
played 0, and that's your last year. If you want to go to Duke and say I played college basketball at Duke for your 5th and final year and get no playing time, okay, if that's what your goal is,
right?
So do you want to be on the court? And if his thing is I want to be on the court, so maybe I could build my resume for the next level. I'm not so sure Duke's the right place for Caden.
Yeah, that is going to be really interesting to see if he gets playing time. It's always weird that you inter-conference transferring. It seems like they should make the 1 year sit out if you're going to stay in conference. I don't know if that's possible, but
they did that. That was how it was done previous to the transfer rule.
Yeah, it was 2 years if you transferred inter-conference, right? And 1 year anywhere else. I wonder why they didn't keep. I guess it doesn't matter at this point. It's just for full unrestricted free agency.
There's no rules right now.
Well, so we're probably I don't have a ton of insight into who we're going after. I've kind of heard whispers of Hunter Dickinson looking at UVA. I feel like that would be an interesting get from a big. I mean, we saw him up and close and personal in the Big Ten Challenge. He looked impressive, but it seems like, to me, anyways, we need shooters. I wonder who they're bringing in on that front. Have you heard anything, Mark?
I haven't. I have not. I haven't spoken to Jay Willie or any of the coaches about who's being brought in, about who they're looking at. I just, it's you can speculate and speculate and speculate, and there are going to be rumors until someone signs on the dotted line. We're
Who's
all
got,
oh, there's this
who's
kid.
got next? I'm sure knows. We'll check in with who's got next to see what he's got cooking up.
Yep, that's the best idea. He just always has his fingertip.
Yeah, I know we're looking at this guy. There's a 23 coming out of IMG Academy who decommitted from Georgia Tech that we're pursuing pretty heavily. I think he's a point guard, and I'm not sure how good of a shooter he is, but that could be one potential guy that we're looking at. But out of the portal, I haven't seen much. I know that we talked about Jennings and Minor. Those are two very different pickups. I mean, Jennings averaged like a few minutes a game at Texas Tech, but Minor was the guy at Merrimack. He was averaging like 17 points a game.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a very different pickups if we were to look at either one. Minor rather had 17 points a game, 9.4 rebounds, and he was the guy that he was averaging 33 and a half minutes a game. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction we go in.
It seems like NIL is a big part of this. This is kind of why I wanted to jump on and talk about what about NIL. It seems like it's more of a factor for transfers than anything. When guys are thinking about going to a new school, of course, good fit and playing time, but they want to know what are they getting on the NIL front, which I found to be a challenge. I don't know what the play here is across other schools, but you hear rumors of guys getting big 6-figure checks here from multiple companies. It seems like that's the name of the game. Is that what you're hearing too, Mark?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. I'm looking up Jordan Minor stats. We've talked about this, and this is going to change college basketball significantly.
Yeah.
And part of me is really upset by it because I love the product. I've said it before. And part of me is like, okay, guys should get paid. And you and I think T-Dubs agree that there should be no tap or no cap on what people can make. But at the same time, it's going to create crazy wild west.
Yeah.
In something that has no regulations. And I think they're going to have to be some rules. And some states still don't allow NIL.
Yeah.
Right, which is going to make things even more controversial.
And Doug brought up, the portal loss of Trout. I mean, there were rumors of Trout getting 250 grand. Plus he gets to go home and, maybe the combination of those two things is just too much to overcome. Like that, you could argue one of the two, but if it was reversed and he's getting 250 to stay at UVA, it might not be his homesick. I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up.
At the end of the day, what happens? What's the result? What are the consequences, and what's the result? Consequences, I think, on the minor side is that teams there's a ravishing, right? The teams are just the cupboard's bare.
Yeah.
With some of these schools, including UVA next year, potentially.
Yeah. For the first time.
Right. You look at who's leaving, who's staying. What do we have? We have 4 people on the roster, 5 people on the roster next year right now?
Yeah.
This is unprecedented.
Yeah, it is. It's the first time under TB that it's been like this. I mean, 5 starters, all at the moment not returning. So you're looking at a complete overhaul of the starting 5. That's crazy. Like that has not happened yet.
And not just 5 stars with a lot of experience. That's a lot of minutes.
A lot.
Right. And now you're thrusting in either first year guys or guys they've transferred in with no experience who have to learn that system.
It seems like the anchors are going to be Isaac McNeely and Ryan Dunn with the most experience. And then we have Dante Harris from Georgetown. He's got good, he's got college experience and 1 year redshirt. So we really got 3 guys, it sounds like, penciled in here to come back and play significant minutes. So you got at least 2 more open spots on the starting 5, and then probably another 2 that will get significant minutes off the bench. So, I mean, if playing time is something that they're after, I mean, UVA's got to be, yeah, that's got to be an appealing. I imagine what we're offering guys is on some level very appealing, right? It's like I see the minutes. UVA's a winning culture. It just, I don't know.
I'm not sure right now, T-Dubs. I'm not sure if you're not offering cash.
Yeah, the NIL piece
playing time, right? It used to be, Doug used to always talk about that. The currency was playing time.
Yeah.
That's no longer the case anymore, right? Now the currency is cash.
No, the currency is now the currency.
Right.
So then the question is, I brought this up on the forum. If there was just an NIL collective for basketball, would that be of interest? I don't know. Maybe we start that and just do $10 a month. Let's see how many people want to chip in for just basketball. I think maybe that's an option because Cav Feature covers everything. We can work with Low. We can figure out how it works, but maybe there's something there because it seems like if there's a number that we can put up on the board and say, hey, look, we're gonna LRA's community is gonna collectively put together this, and it's going to go to transfers or whatever we all decide is good. That could be an interesting play. So we're going to look into. I don't know if that's would be of interest to fans and people, but something we'll probably try to put together here in the next few weeks. And imagine a couple hundred people, $10 a month over the course of a year. That's a decent amount of money that we can then have as sponsor someone. To come on and we'll work through that. It's not UNC money, but it's something.
Well, that's just T-Dubs. So what are the numbers that people are looking for? What are you hearing when you heard Trout might be 2 to 250 to go to?
Yeah,
Nigel got 400 to go to Miami, and if he got 400, how much did Isaiah Wong get? And we said, guess what? If he's coming in and getting this, I'm getting something just as comfortable more.
Right. And then Baycott over $1 million. I've heard Baycott got over $1 million, and so did Caleb. And both of those apparently are getting that again next year to come back. So
Caleb loves leaving, isn't he?
Yeah, he's transferring, but he's got a big price tag on. He's looking for another payday.
If I'm in UNC, you didn't live up to your part of the deal. I paid you $1 million. You didn't even make the tournament.
Right.
I'm pissed. If I got to pay that much money, and I'm one of the donors, there better be some yield, right? What's the yield? What am I gaining, right? If we're going to make this contractual, which sucks, right? I hate that concept behind college basketball now. I think that's the hardest part for me to swallow, right? And it's they're basically 1-year contracts.
Right.
And it's so upsetting. I mean, I could see myself to really, really not have that zest about college basketball anymore, which is, I guess I'll have to find another hobby, but I don't know. Follow more AAU, which is awful for me to follow. But so how does UVA compare to the big winners? Like, who are going to be the big winners in this whole NIL? Right? Is it going to be the teams that have 5-year starters, 4 and 5-year starters? Is it going to be the teams with the most money who can draw in and they're most appealing to the one and done guys? I really think St. John's has a chance with Rick Pitino behind them to really, really manipulate and exploit this NIL. I'm signed up for living on the Upper East Side or Midtown East, have an Uber truck, Uber XL wait for me to take me to campus, maybe go to class, maybe not, go play ball, come back to my high-rise luxury apartment, and live the greatest life in New York City for 4 years or 3 years or 5 years. Right? Who's not signing up for that?
Yeah. See,
and they are going hard after the kid Ian Jackson. No, he's still cheating, Doug. Doug said for the first time in his life, Pitino won't cheat. So he's not allowed to have any influence on this whole NIL thing as a coach.
Right.
So teams are absolutely and they're cheating heavily by talking to Ian Jackson, who's one of the top players who's committed to UNC. And there are numerous reports from very, very good sources that they are going hard after him. multiple times of communication. So I don't know how UNC combats that, but we're going to see that. It's going to be all out bidding wars.
Yeah.
Huge all out bidding wars.
No, I mean, you look at the Final Four this year. I mean, Florida Atlantic, I don't know how much NIL money was on that squad, but the other three had a ton.
But here's the deal with that. San Diego State, how much did they have? Did they have a lot, T-Dubs?
Yeah, they definitely. I mean, they're Jordan's.
I think those two teams, like without NIL, neither of those teams are even making it past the Sweet 16.
Neither which teams?
San Diego State and Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic has a lot of money. There's a lot of money at that school.
So, but they also have some older players, right? We know
They do.
Miami does. Miami's gotten to the Sweet 16, the last year, the Elite Eight, I think, in the Final Four this year, with some really, really old guys, right, who are getting money, who are getting a lot of money. So, I mean, maybe that's – I just don't know what happens because there are not enough slots for everybody to transfer.
Right.
Every year. Right? And there's not – so some of these teams, maybe after 3 or 4 years, somebody's going to be like, okay, my time's up. I'm going to go to the school to the highest bidder. So how do you compete with teams that are schools and maybe they do become teams now, not even schools, right? How do you compete with these school / teams who have a lot of money and are coming after your 4th year transfer player, potential transfer?
The Dragons at LSU won a women's championship with 9 transfers. Yes.
And there's a good chance that's what we're going to start seeing. Although, I mean, I don't know how many transfers. UConn had what, 2, 3? 2 transfers, I think.
At least 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, the transfer market seems to be where the NIL money is going. Like, it's if you're going to, and I don't know, quote unquote, invest, if we're going to put your money towards something, it sounds like a little more proven when you go through the transfer route. I think the McDonald's All-Americans are one route, and those guys get paid a ton regardless, and the rest goes to transfer. Right?
Likely more transfers, but I also think it's going to be a combination of 2 and 3 and 4 year top transfer players with the top high school players.
Right.
Like, who knows? I'll find out what St. John's is offering Ian Jackson. I'll get that information.
So let's just take it for example. Someone that's not at UVA transferring, Ryan Dunn. Is he getting offers? Do you think, like, to transfer? Is he getting that kind of treatment to, like, hey, come here, we'll give you a whole bunch of money, or is it not to that level yet?
Let's ask Big Ed.
Okay.
Send Ed a text now.
I mean, my guess is, he's probably getting something, right? Some kind of, I mean, all of this is illegal, but like everyone's playing this game of like, I've got money now to spend. I'm going to figure out a way to get it into the hands of the best players. It's going to be, it's going to be super interesting to see how this thing plays out.
I think that when you talk about, and also we just got a text from Cody talking about what's legal and what's not legal, and Congress is going to establish some rules. And once those rules are set, you're still going to have cheating. You're still going to have guys that violate any policies and any rules. And it's, people say it's NIL is just, it's what everybody's been doing for the last, several years. Blue Bloods or whoever is part of that group.
Jason with the question, with one-time transfer without having to sit a year, does this make the transfer market more appealing than high school? Once they transfer to you, they can't transfer again without sitting out or graduating.
Go ahead, T-Dubs.
I mean, I would say yes, right? Like the transfer market is definitely more appealing. Out of high school, you're relatively unknown. Like you haven't established yourself at all. So I mean, if you're looking to maximize obviously it's not the best college experience, but like, hey, coming out of school, you go to a smaller program, you play well, and then you look to like you make a name for yourself and you look to transfer. And when you get when you get transferred, maybe there's an opportunity there to capitalize on NIL and real recruiting, like on the dollar level. But it's all kind of risky. But it seems like that's the path that a lot of players are taking. And I think right now is weird because you got a free transfer for COVID, and then you get a free transfer. So I mean, next year is kind of the first time you just get the one transfer rule. Right now, it's free for all because they got one free transfer through the COVID year, and then they had their regular transfer as well. So it is a little more chaotic, I think, than it should be in the future. But
which is going to eliminate the 6 and 7 year players. Right? We're not going to see those guys anymore.
Right.
We'll still see some 5-year guys, not as many.
I mean, I think the move is probably, if you're going to do this transfer route, you go 2 years, and then you transfer, taking summer school. Then you've got 1 year, you graduate, and then you can transfer one more time as a graduate transfer. So it shouldn't change too much. If you really want to play this transfer game, it's still on the table.
Right. But you're right, T-Dubs. The freshmen, the first year and freshmen haven't been proven. So
Right.
am I going to go with a 3rd and 4th or 5th year guy? Like UVA's recruiting this guy Minor, right? He's played 5 years of basketball, I think, already, or 4 years. And so he's going to go become a grad transfer.
I mean, does this make it harder for a 2-star high school recruit? I imagine it does.
Absolutely, yeah.
Since him playing D1, a 2-star high school recruit has a hard time playing Division I basketball right now.
Yeah.
Scholarships, he's not eligible for a scholarship right now. He's eligible. He's not a candidate.
Yeah. Why would, I mean, as a coach, why would you? I can go in the transfer market and get a guy who's averaged, 5, 6, 7 points a game and, been in tough situations. I can go get that guy. It's pretty unfair for the kid coming out of high school that wants to develop, like, and really be a part of a program like that. That's who is punishing out of all this.
So it is working both ways a little bit too, right? Schools are taking advantage of it.
Yep.
By recruiting, and kids aren't being developed, right? There's no development. There's no. There's a lot of AAU has this stigma, which is pretty much true. It's like you're making a 1-year deal. You could be playing on one team 1 year, next year other team, or next you could be playing on 2 teams or 3 teams in the same season, right? And it's so unregulated. The same thing with college. Same thing right now, and it's gonna get ugly. Right, it started to already, and teams are going to have mass. There's going to be a mass exodus of players leaving some schools, including UVA.
Yeah, I mean,
just kind of going back to the 2-star comment, it makes things harder for them coming out of high school, but at the same time, they could get an opportunity. Say they go to a D2, D3 school that's really high level, and they play at a really high level there, then they have an opportunity to transfer to a bigger market school, and that gives them that opportunity that they probably wouldn't have had right out of high school.
Yeah, that's potential. That's definitely a possibility, Spence.
You don't see that as much though.
Yeah,
because the transfer route is more like you get in a small school and now I can look elsewhere, and then big school guys that aren't getting a lot of minutes transfer down, so it kind of takes a spot from each.
Every once in a while you will see that, Spence, but I don't see it happening too much. Right?
Yeah.
I think that the kid you're talking about, there are a few of them every year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's going to be a Division III kid or a few Division II kids who are showing that they're really good players. But that's a kid who Division I coaches miss guys all the time. They don't evaluate correctly all the time on a few kids. Let me take that back. Walk back that statement. They miss a few kids every year.
Right.
And look at the kid Jason Presley. There's a number of kids, right? Duncan Robinson, who went D3 then transferred to Michigan. Jason Presley, who didn't play until finally got one scholarship offer. Every once in a while they'll miss out on a guy, and that kid might do extremely well in D3 or D2, and then he'll get picked up and be able to transfer D1. But when you talk about the transfer portal, the numbers in the transfer portal every year, setting records with the amount of kids entering their name in the portal. It's even hard for the guys that are transferring.
Yeah,
I forget the number. I can't remember the number. It's easy enough to look up. How many kids, what's the percentage of kids who don't end up at a school after entering their name in a transfer portal? Now, if you go from Division One, almost all the guys who go from Division One want to go D1, and they may not be looking at opportunities at Division Two or Division Three, right? So that's why a lot of them may never transfer, but there's just not enough places, there's not enough spots. Not
before you would go D2 or 3 because you don't have to sit out. Now, like you don't have to sit out. There's no reason to go down. So you're right. Like the opportunity to move up it's a lot tougher. The question I had is let's just say an example. Wild, we have a crazy donor that has billions of dollars and just says, "I've got a blank check for UVA to do this NIL thing." Does it help? What does it do? I mean, is that the kind of program? I mean, does that help us? Like, how would that even, like, really, are we really cutting checks? Like, let's just say like money was no object. How would that change things? Like, would we be going after the same people and then like cutting them big checks? Like that seems like a counter to, like, you know, if we had $1 million to give to Big Hot, would we want a Big Hot because we can afford it? I'm curious as to how that would even work. What are your thoughts on that?
Like the guy, I think that like that money would go to guys like London Johnson or TJ Power, who we were in the running for them, but they decided to go to a Duke or G League Ignite or wherever he ends up going. And I think that we're going to be able, if we had that big time money, deep pockets guy, I think that we'd still be pursuing the same people, but we'd get a lot more of the guys that we are pursuing.
So T-Dubs, I think you weren't making a statement that I think you were asking the question about.
No, I wasn't.
I'm just going to say, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes,
guys, we'd like to announce that T-Dubs hit the lottery.
No,
We're getting Johnny James.
No, your answer as well. I think it's the best player available. I think it's. Yeah. I'm going to try to recruit that kid that can go G League Unite. I'm not going to be able to compete with that, right? Unless I'm offering a couple of million. But if I'm going G League Unite, I'm going to go for $1 million, and because I know next year, I'm being told that the following year, I'm going to be a lottery pick. It doesn't really matter at that point.
Well, that's the thing. If you think about, I mean, it'll take some time because how long we've had Ignite for 2 years, 3 years. I'd be interested to see in 5-10 years from now what percentage of those guys actually end up being lottery picks and what guys end up just bouncing around the G League for their careers.
Yep, and I think for the most part, those guys are lottery picks or first rounders.
Yeah,
and the other piece is overtime. So I've been saying this for a while too, like between overtime, G League Unite, people going
overseas,
and then with NIL, first of all, basketball is not nearly as competitive. College basketball is just way down the level of play, way down. Connecticut, I think, was a really good team, strong team. Outside of Connecticut, I don't know who was that good. Right, but then also, it's such a mess right now. It's just chaos.
Yeah, I think there's a question of what is the G League Ignite salary? You know, that spends.
I think there's a range, and I'm not sure. I think guys can make $2 million if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Scoot Henderson has a mill. Yeah, he's $1 million deal, Scoot. So it's at least that.
And he's gonna be there for 2 years.
Yeah, that's a decent amount of money. I think London Johnson was told 250, 500K for 2 years. I think that was his deal. So yeah, it's a lot.
It doesn't. It looks like it said that this says that for the 2020-21 season, the highest paid G League player was Jalen Green, who made $500K for Ignite. But I feel like it's more than that.
It is. I'm almost positive London's getting $1 million.
Yeah, that's what I see. Yeah, that could have been. Let's see.
Easy enough to look up.
London Johnson signs record NBA G League Unite exceeding $1 million. Yeah.
Yeah, it says $1 million for Johnson. Sterling Henderson's got 2 years for $1 million. Jalen Green's 1 year, 500,000.
Jalen Green was in the NBA now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real money.
And overtime guys are getting real money too. It's going to be an all-out bidding war.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess the argument against the G League would be like the marketing isn't quite there, right? You don't, maybe that's a good thing for them, but you look at the guys in the G League, like Scoot in London, like you don't really see their games. They don't get a lot of hype. They don't. Maybe that's a good thing for them. They can just keep their heads down and do, but they don't come into the draft with like a natural fan base and like, that's tougher. That's a lot tougher than, we always use the example of Zion, but Zion coming in with all that hype and all that marketing coming in is kind of crazy. It's pretty impressive, right? Like you don't get that in the G League or the overtime, like because those leagues are they don't have the TV rights, they don't have the hype train of ESPN, but maybe it's better in the long run. I don't know. Is it better to be an ESPN Plus or Duke versus UNC primetime? Yeah.
I mean, and the other thing is, if you think about it, like, you don't get the college experience in the G League. Like, you're not going to the Biltmore or Trin on a Saturday night. You don't get to make this type of memory that you would if you.
I hear you, Spence.
Huh?
My debate against that, Spence, is you're going to college for 1 year or you're going to G League. I might not get that college experience, but I'm getting NBA experience, right? And I'm going to. If I'm a one and done, I'm not going because I'm looking at hanging out in college with friends. I'm going because I have to, because I got paid more than G League Unite, and G League Unite's just around, right? It just started.
If you're that good and you're like, I'm going to be a lottery pick either way, or I'm going to be a top pick, I feel like if you talk to, like, if you asked like Ty, and you said you'd be a top 10 pick either way, and would you rather go to G League Ignite or go to UVA for a year? I think he'd 100% say UVA, just because I don't know how it is at other schools, but the UVA experience, even when you're here for a year.
He would say that now. There's a good chance he said it now because he can look back at, he experienced UVA.
Yeah.
With looking at both, I'm 98% sure he would say G League Unite because he would be more prepared for the NBA life. Right? You're playing against older guys. You're playing against some guys who played in the NBA. You're all basketball. Right? And what's 1 year going to do for you if you're a lottery pick or plan to be a lottery pick in terms of education? You don't need education. Right? I mean, ultimately, I want my kid to have one. But if you're a lottery pick, make $10 million a year, and then in your mind, you're thinking you're going to get a contract for $20 million at least in your second contract for 4 or 5 years, who needs college?
Right.
What do I care about college? I'm going to get, so how many semesters am I going to take? How many credits am I going to earn? You're not going to earn second term credits, right? Because you're going to leave school early, because you're going to train with whoever your agent is.
You're getting 12 credits. You're getting 12 credits. It's not a lot.
You're going to get, what are you going to get? 9 credits, 12 credits?
12, maybe 15.
Maybe 18 because you take summer school, right? Like, for the college experience, I hear you. Okay, I want to live college life, right? So for the top guy,
I'd also argue that the NCAA experience is like, I mean, I don't know, obviously, but I think that you'd rather have that NCAA turn. Like, if you can make a run and you're good enough that you could bring your team in a run on the tournament, then I think that experience is a million times better than you can get in the G League.
Yeah, that's the exposure piece. I mean, let's face it, it's not $900 million or nothing. Like, if you're going to UNC, if you're going to Duke, if you're going to Kentucky, you're probably it's probably not that big of a pay cut. It's maybe, if you're down like 800 versus $1 million, like, then at that point it's kind of a tough decision, right? Because, like, do you get $200,000 worth of marketing by going to college? I would think yes. Like, if you go to the tournament and being on CBS and having Jim Nance say your name and all that, like, that's valuable stuff.
Right? And if you think about it, like when these kids are growing up, they're sitting watching March Madness, filling out brackets. They're not watching G League playoffs.
Not
So I
right
mean,
now.
it's like
Not
the
right
lifelong dream for
Scoot
a lot
Henderson,
of guys, you know.
but I don't know. I have no idea how many followers Scoot Henderson has. He's a legitimate player, right? He's really, really good.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's so good. Right? I don't know how many followers. I don't know who the next guy up after Scoot Henderson is. Scoot Henderson's projected to be what, the number 2, number 3 pick, maybe some cases number 1 pick. So clearly, whether he's got a fan base or not, NBA scouts know who he is. And if I'm him, he made the right decision, especially with college basketball being so watered down right now. That's my argument. If I'm a G League rep or ambassador and I'm trying to recruit somebody, I'm like, dude, what's going to get you better for the next year when you try to go to the NBA? A watered down college basketball product or G League Unite, which you're playing against NBA players, guys who are trying to been in the league, guys who are might be going to the league, right? Two-way guys who may have been hurt, trying to get better, trying to recover.
Yeah.
Easy sell. I mean, I would think it's an easy sell.
Well, let's see. Who do you like? So Scoot Henderson has 203,000 followers on Instagram, and Baycott has 155,000. And I mean, would you say Baycott's the number one most popular guy in college basketball right now?
No.
Who do you think is? There's not one specific guy this year, I feel like, but
Brandon Miller, maybe. I don't know if he's the most popular, but he might have the most followers, right?
Like Caitlin Clark has 600,000.
Who does?
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah,
that's a different animal right there.
Yeah, that for sure. But that's someone who's NCAA and popular because of it.
But we talked about exposure.
Caleb Love has 324,000.
Who does?
Caleb Love.
He's also played college basketball for 4 years.
Yeah. He's done the work
for 1 year, right? And if Scoot Henderson played college basketball this past year, I could understand an argument saying that he would have 250,000 or 300,000. But at that point, okay, not that much more.
Right.
He's still getting incredible exposure. People know who he is. He's got a huge.
Knows who he is.
He's been on ESPN. He's playing on ESPN, right? Scouts know who he is, which is more important than any other exposure. He's got 200,000 followers. That's a tremendous amount of followers, and he's getting legitimate basketball experience. I'm not. Someone's pitching to me. What's better? Hey, I want to recruit you. What NCAA's got to come hard at me. What's the argument? What's the recruiting pitch for the NCAA over G League Ignite?
Yeah, like London Johnson is a good example for him. Right? Was that the right move or not? I mean, it's impossible for us to A/B test that and figure out. But like, he went to the G League, he got paid, he got $1 million. He started his career early. Hard to argue against that.
And he's got 2 years.
Yeah, he's
going to play another year. He's going to sit there and watch. I'm taking that bet. I'm taking that deal every time.
Yeah, $1 million.
Okay, you can go to University of Virginia. You go to Duke. You could go to Kentucky, or go to G League Ignite. What's the benefit of me going to college basketball outside of experience in college life, which is huge? I'm doing it for 6 months, not even.
Right.
Doing it for
and also for reference, Zion had 2.5 million going into college.
He would have had 2.5 no matter where he went.
Yeah.
Going into college.
Going in. Like when he stepped on Duke campus, he had 2.5 million followers.
He would have had 2.5 stepping into G League United if that were around.
Yeah. I mean, Zion's a different animal. Let's take him out of the, as Dragon said, take him out of the equation because he's a freak of nature.
Yeah.
He would have probably helped G League more than anyone. Yeah, and here's a good Susan Lewis asked, at what point do coaches like TB get fed up with this whole world?
It already happened, Susan.
Yeah.
In the name
last year.
in the name of look at
Trout.
What's that?
Trout?
No. What
Roy Williams.
Coaches like Tony. Look at Jay Wright.
Okay.
Jay Wright left.
Yeah.
I had to do with he saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, didn't want to deal with all this. I don't know how much longer TV deals with this. Like, honestly, this is a big headache. I know he's like got to be tired of it. Like, how can you not be? Like, he's here for basketball, for the love of the game and the basketball, all this stuff with NIL and transfers. This is the exact stuff he probably doesn't like about the game, and now it's being like.
I mean, if I'm Tony Bennett right now, I'm looking at looking back at all the work that I put into recruiting and developing guys like Caden, guys like Trout, who obviously didn't get a lot of development time, but all the time that he put into these guys, and then they're deciding to pick up and leave before they have to, and in the case of Caden, it's 100% because of NIL, and I'm not happy, and I'm not happy with the state of the game when you're a guy like Tony Bennett, who's very much a basketball purist.
Spence, what makes you think Caden's decision is based on NIL?
That's what a lot of people said that.
So it has nothing to do with him being upset or being discouraged because of lack of playing time.
I think that definitely played a role, but I think that in his like search for a new school, NIL is playing a big part in his decision.
How much could Duke possibly be offering Caden Shedrick?
Yeah, do we know how much Filipowski got?
What's that?
Do we know how much Filipowski got?
We don't. I mean, they're a private school, so they operate differently.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine that Duke's going to pay Caden Shedrick a ton of money to go there.
Yeah.
Like you talk about, I want somebody that's proven that he's a really good player before I pay them. Right? And maybe they see him as a great piece to a puzzle. Maybe they see him as just a connectivity tissue. He's going to hold guys together. He's going to be a glue guy. He's just going to play defense and rebound. Maybe they see some offense in him. I don't know. Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I think it's less than 5 years. I think it could be 2, maybe 3.
I think that how this portal goes and how next season goes will play a big role. I think that if we have a successful portal and pull out a good season next year, I think that it could prolong it. But if we have a tough time in the portal and have a difficult season, then I think that it definitely would make him less likely to want to stay.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if this is a rebuild every single year, basically, you've got 1-year deals with everyone. You got to redo this thing. It's going to be tough to follow the path that we're on, because like a lot of the UVA stuff is patience. Like, it's yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
That's not what fits TV's personality.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
It's not his strategy that he wants to.
Yeah.
John Schick is saying, I don't remember who said this week. The answer is binding contracts. Want to take your chances? Sign a UVA or whoever 1-year contract. Think you need development? ? Sign a 3-year, whatever, but make them binding. Maybe that's what Congress is going to. Maybe that's what they're going to a big part of their structured, whatever the deal, or I don't know. I think that everything's going to be 1 year now. It used to be that the schools had binding 1-year contracts, annual 1-year contracts, right? Annual contracts with student athletes, which I always thought was unfair, right? And now I think the players have the leverage for the NIL. It's completely shifted.
Yeah, it's tough. This is a tough one, right? Because like the way TV system is, like it requires time and you develop over years, and you got to trust the process. And like, let's just not take TV out of the equation. During COVID, Mark, we spoke with every UVA great known to man. If you guys haven't seen those podcasts, go look them up. Every single one has thought about transferring at some point in their career. And then today, they're all gone. We don't have any of them. We don't have Brian Stiff. We don't have John Crowdy. We don't have all the greats that you loved at UVA probably have transferred in today's environment, which is very telling, right? Like all the guys thought deeply about leaving. Every one of them, Harold, Jamal, all of them had a summer where they were like really questioning
I mean, if I remember correctly, Ty said that if there was, Ty would have been gone.
You just
That's what
don't
he
know,
said.
right?
He said
No,
that, yeah.
Listen, I had to be walked off the ledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Devin Hall, no shot he would have stayed.
Devin Hall was told in the layup line. DeAndre Hunter was out. DeAndre Hunter was gone.
Yeah. I mean, almost every UVA great we spoke with had at some point had a serious thought of transferring. And I think and it's not just UVA. I don't think this is a UVA thing. It's just in general. Like you have like part of this process. There's gonna be like adversity, and you fight, stick it through, or you leave. Like those
You
are
see
your options.
roster. Penn State had a really good year. You see their roster. They had 4 5-year guys and 1 4-year starter. Right, and I think 4 out of the 5 were transfers.
Yeah.
Right, so it's definitely not just a UVA issue. So is that going to mean that coaches are going to hire somebody on staff just to monitor and just to negotiate with players about how throughout the checking in with them throughout the
Right.
year? Hey man, this is our plan for you. Don't get upset. We got a great plan for you. You're going to be good. Or is it going to be like, okay, fine, leave, because someone else is leaving another school and we're going to recruit them and we're going to be on top of this early. We're
Yeah.
going to know who's not happy. We're going to be following up. And by the way, coaches are aware, right? Because guys are in touch with their AAU coaches. Guys are in touch with parents.
Yep.
Right. So this is also where it gets ugly too.
Yeah, I don't think anything comes as a total surprise. I mean, you hear whispers of everything, right?
I think Casey Marcel was leaving in halfway in the year.
Yeah.
I knew somebody, his AAU coach in DC, whatever. Or somebody was close to his AAU coach, and they're like, "Hey, I'm hearing Casey Marcel's leaving." Right. But you could, as soon as someone's unhappy now, it's not like they're not staying. Especially
Right.
if I got an offer with some NIL money,
Right.
I'm out.
The grass is definitely going to be greener nowadays. Like that's why the transfer portal is, yeah, it just changed everything. That the combination of portal plus NIL, that's where the danger is. I think that's really what changed everything in college. Like
Well,
people
I
thought it
think
was
it's valuable.
just paying athletes in general. But no, the combination of being able to transfer with no consequence of 1 year sitting out, plus the addition of NIL dollars being dangled in front that you can't figure out the inducement versus like that's where this thing went off of the rails.
I
And
think it would be valuable.
putting this lion back in the cage. I mean, unless you reinstate the 1 year sit out rule, we kind of are where we are.
I think it's still valuable to have a guy like Tony Bennett and a program like we have, because we're always going to be attracting those guys who are passionate about the program and want to be in it for the long haul. Like from everything I've heard, I think that Elijah is one of those guys who's in it for 4 years, whether or not he's ready to go to the NBA. And I think that that's really important because he wouldn't have gone somewhere else if they're like, okay, you get 1 year, we're going to give you $500,000, and you're out the door. I think that it's important to have that type of program, but you also have to accommodate for you're not going to have 5 to 10 of those guys on your team every year. You have to balance out with guys who you got to pay and guys you got to pull into the portal.
No question, Spence. I'm going to agree with you. At the
Yeah.
same time, it's West Virginia, who just got a kid from Arizona. Who knows how much money that kid got, because we all know Arizona, how they roll. They were the first one to have Javon Quinterly, right? Initially, he was about to go to Arizona, got caught out there when it was illegal. And then we know what happened with some other guys. And I know some other stuff that happened with a Christ the King player who went out there and got a ton of money in addition to possibly the coach, high school coach. But now you look at Arizona, right, with Javon Quinley, who was absolutely cheating. And how much did this guy that transferred to West Virginia, left Arizona, how much did West Virginia offer? And so the reason I bring up West Virginia is because this was before NIL was legal, I believe, when what's his name got his offer and decided to go to UVA over West Virginia. Right? Those were the two schools he was deciding between, McNeely, if I'm correct.
Say it again.
McNeely was deciding between UVA and West Virginia.
Yeah, right.
So West Virginia was offering a ton of NIL money. What does McNeely do at that point? If West Virginia is offering 500 or 400, and UVA is offering 50 to 100, 50,000 to 100,000, what's he going to do? Does that change his opinion? That changes mine, even though he's someone that we think has incredible core values. Guess what? I like to think my kid has incredible core values, but at the same time, that's some serious dough.
Yeah.
Right. And guess what? I'm getting my beach house with that kind of money. So
Jim's question: isn't what CTB faces the same as what all other coaches face? You want to answer that, Mark?
So absolutely, but CTB is the guy that wants to coach. He doesn't want to be involved with this NIL stuff. He doesn't want to be involved with negotiating contracts and negotiating how much money are you looking for. Well, other coaches are happy to do it, and this is their opportunity. Some coaches embrace this. Some coaches are in negotiations. Some coaches are like, okay, let me deal with this booster and how much money he's going to give me. They love me to death. Calipari's probably loving this. Right? This is his thing, negotiating with everybody. Right? And now he gets to negotiate with the kids, which is illegal. He's not supposed to be doing that. Right? Only the person who is in charge of the collective, right? T-Dubs, and you can speak more on that. But CTB has the same opportunities, but choosing not to. And guess what? I'm like him. First of all, when I coach, I don't want that much to do with recruiting, at least in AAU or high school.
You're right.
Well, let's coach. Let's get on the floor. Let's play. I want to teach. I don't want to deal with paying this kid. And this is like AAU. This is really like high stakes AAU right now. Right? Just the constant negotiations. AAU, I think time, guys, are recruiting, offering. This has been going on for a while.
Yeah, well, I would say the difference between TB and other coaches is that, like, the pillars and his value and how he's designed his program, and Dick Bennett too, right? It's from the ground up. It's a very purist form of basketball. It's about the game. It's about the love of the game and winning and team and all of that. And when you throw in when you throw in dollars and recruiting and like that just it really conflicts with what he's trying to build. And I think that's the real challenge for him, right? Because like we talked about earlier, like, okay, let's say you have $1 million and that now you got to decide who to pay what, and that's a whole different game. Like that, I don't think he wants to play that game. I'm not saying every other coach loves it. I'm just saying, like, for TB, it's probably harder.
Coaches are involved. How many coaches are involved with the boosters? How many coaches are involved with the NIL people and the players, and coordinating the relationships, right, and connecting the relationships when they're not supposed to? When it's illegal for them to be. A lot of coaches are like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna hook you up. Let's get this done." Or talking to the boosters or whatever. Sean Miller, he was doing it like a lot of these guys were doing it when it was illegal.
Right.
I think they just continue.
Right. How often do boosters have to get burned UNC this year before they become more reluctant? Also, kids wanting to renegotiate their NIL. I would say the UNC with Love and Baycott was more repayment for the Final Four year because they didn't have that deal prior. So they got to a Final Four. You pay them the next year, you don't get there. Like, yes, maybe it's a little bit of a burn, but I don't think it's as bad.
They did not get to the Final Four. They didn't make the tournament.
Right, but this is year 2 now. So now they're paying Baycott twice. They paid him last year to come back, and now they're paying him twice.
Yeah, that's fair.
Baycott, and so it's a great question, Jason.
Yeah,
so I completely agree. Okay, if I was paying this much, and that was the point I made earlier. What's my yield? What am I getting out of this? If I'm going to give $1 million, you better win. You better freaking win if I'm giving up $1 million or $5 million. I better have a winning product, right? This is like St. John. St. John's was paying. Well, may have been paying lots of guys, right? And so people were saying it's the worst money spent. They haven't made the tournament ever.
But then you look at Miami, and you would say they got first ever Final Four, that it was all worth it. I don't know. Did he get anything out of that financially? I don't think so. Like that money is just
Did who get anything?
The booster. Yeah, the booster that paid for Life Wallet. Did Life Wallet gain that much more? No, probably not. But
I don't. Yeah, they're not getting anything for that.
Yeah, they're not getting a return because of it. So I think for them, it's money. I mean, my guess is these people just love their school and they want to help, and they're donating their dollars, win or lose. I mean, like it's gone regardless. So
Right.
they're
But also now these guys are going to feel like they have power and control.
yeah,
You dudes better make the tournament if I'm
right,
going to give you this much money. If you don't
right.
make this tournament, it's a contract now. It's a legitimate. You've talked about this before. This is professional sports.
Yeah, yeah.
So how reluctant am I going to be if the teams aren't making tournaments and I'm shelling out all this money? Because not everybody's going to make the tournament.
Right. I mean, that's the problem with the rules are you can't incentivize performance. You can't induce players to stay. So like contractually, the player has no obligation to play harder for more money or win more games. Like this is ultimately is what it is, right? You pay, they come, they play. Outcome has no impact on how much you're getting paid.
If anything, it's worse because if you're a player, you're Armando Bacot, you're making $1 million. I'm not gonna try as hard. Like I'm already making $1 million. Like I'm not working for anything.
No way. Here's the reason why, Spence. My ultimate goal is to leave.
Yes, that's where the real dollars are.
Right. So I get what you're saying, but also these guys are going to think that they're controlling everything. This is going to be so transactional, going both ways, where the guys who are donating millions of dollars are going to be like, I am controlling everything. It's almost going to be like politics.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be some of these kids are going to be puppets.
Yeah. Chris Martin here said he coached high school for years and it was about coaching, and now it's about fundraising and putting kids in front of colleges. And yeah, times have definitely changed.
Meat market, Chris. Absolutely. No question.
Yeah. B Dragon, it's a flex when you have those Miami mega donors. They've been doing it for SEC football. Yeah, like don't listen. We're not even football is in ridiculous money. Like, it's wild.
Those dudes are calling shots.
Yeah, isn't sitting out a year the real key? Who is going to pay big NIL money for a player who can't contribute immediately? Yeah, that combination of transfer portal with no sitting out plus the NIL, like that's the combination that did this, right? If you got rid of the instant transfer and everyone had to sit out, I think things would be very different in the college. But that's not the game. That's not the game right now, unfortunately.
Do you think could you see that they reverse that decision with NIL?
It's possible. I mean, they got to do something. I think there's so much gripe about, hey, coaches can just leave and take money. Why can't play? Like this is a free will, free market. Why not allow players to leave if coaches are allowed to leave at any point? If something changes, I don't. Yeah, it's hard to go back. I think I don't know how you justify going backwards. But then again, it is the NCAA.
I mean, you say it's going backwards, but like, is it really going backwards if you're moving NCAA basketball forwards?
Yeah, the argument and moving it backwards for players, right? Like if the idea is to pay the players and to give them the freedom to add that back in is the step backwards. And yes, I believe it would help the overall.
But not even pro teams have rules like that. Like you can't leave after a year if you are on a 2-year contract.
Right. Right, but if you have a 1-year contract like they do in college,
but then you can't, like, not every contract in the NFL or the NBA is 1 year.
Right. Yeah, so something's got to change. I think that's what they're going to work on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sitting out part that's. I feel like they should bring that back personally.
I think that. I mean, NIL is gonna NIL is good. I think that everyone is gonna agree that you can we're making money off the players that they deserve to be compensated. But the way that it is right now, the Wild West way it is, I don't think that that's good for the sport or good for the kids or good for the programs or good for anyone.
I don't. Yep, Chris. Your question, your point. I hear you. I don't think that it's going to be equitable. I don't know if it's ever going to be equitable, right? It's just like any other profession, right? Like here's what's also, I hate using the word interesting, but for lack of a better word right now, I'm going to use it and just say the NBA is getting younger and younger. When you look at the projected first rounders, it's all freshmen. Well, the majority of the guys are freshmen, right? But the guys in NCAA are paying a lot of money for third, fourth, and fifth year guys.
Yep.
Right. That makes. So I don't know what the guys who are going to who are coming back. Maybe they're thinking, okay, maybe what if I don't make the NBA? Here's my chance to make $500,000 for 3 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it.
Money that I would make going to the league, and after that I can go to play in Europe.
Yeah, that's very true. You can capitalize on it. You stay home, you have fun, you get the social experience, and you get paid. Because you're right, like guys that are going third and fourth year, it's tougher to make the league to get drafted in the first round. Like, what percentage of first rounders are 4-year players? It's pretty low.
There's almost none. It's almost non-existent.
Yeah.
We know Malcolm Brogdon was after that. I mean, how many guys play 4 or 5 years and make it in the league?
Yeah, it's very tough.
It's weird. The NBA wants 18-year-olds so they can supposedly develop them, but I'm not sure how much development there is. It's just an athletic young league right now.
Yeah, George Anderson, if your coach leaves, then yes, you can leave. If he doesn't, you have to sit before playing. Yeah, sit a year. You know, you get the transfer and no sit rule if your coach leaves. I like that. That's not a bad wrinkle to the thing.
Well, we've been on for over an hour. Any other questions, please, or comments? Please post. Any parting words, T-Dubs?
No, I appreciate you jumping on. We'll jump back on when there's more news, UVA news. I know Reese and the others have all declared. So once we hear more, we'll jump back on.
Absolutely. Maybe we'll get some news. We'll update some news. Spence, I do like that color of that shirt. Can you show it? That's really nice.
This is an older one. You can't get this one anymore.
Making moves, T-Dubs. Spence, can I get a Pillars of Tony?
Yeah, we got packages for everyone. We got to get it set up. Getting it coming soon.
Thank you. I'd love to have that for the summer wherever I go when it's going to be cold.
And anyone else watching, you want to get one? Check it out. I'll grab mine. Show it off.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thanks everybody for jumping on, Chris and John.
Thanks for your comments as well.
Yeah, Dragon, George. Yeah, appreciate everybody jumping on and having questions.
Spence, the light color one, Spence.
Yeah, we got that one in black and in bone. But thank you guys for hopping on. Well, if you're not subscribed on whatever platform you're watching us on, make sure you do that so you don't miss another show. And we'll see you guys next time.
That's right.
Thanks everybody for joining us.